innovation in financial services is a very nebulous word. It means a lot of different things to different people, and yet financial services needs to innovate in order to keep abreast of its customers, as well as keep abreast of technology that's changing the industry, and get around all of the constraints that helps financial services, the industry, to be relevant to its to its customers. I'm going to be having a very interesting but difficult conversation with Costa Paris, the head of innovation at SWIFT, the global head of innovation. So SWIFT, being a utility, being a shared utility among its member institutions for payments, is re-looking at its own role and how, as an organization and as a cooperative, it can be useful to the changes taking place in the financial services industry. So thank you very much for having this conversation with me.
Thank you.
Now, if someone looking at SWIFT says that the innovation initiative of SWIFT is really a low-boil attempt at keeping itself relevant, to what the changes that are taking place, and not being surprised by new technologies that might derail SWIFT, because it's very easy today to provide a lot of the infrastructure that SWIFT does on an open platform, and the argument really for the continued existence for SWIFT is really that it's a member-owned institution, and security and availability is a big part of its proposition. What if the skeptic looking at your innovation initiative says that it's just SWIFT putting its toe in the water, mm-hmm. and trying to make sense of everything that's going on around them?
Well, I think you have to look at it not only from the SWIFT perspective, but also our owner's perspective. I think, and I don't expect anybody would contradict me on this. There are some massive changes happening in the industry facing the banks, and therefore SWIFT. And the question really is there a strategic, concerted effort in the banking community to think about that? Every bank thinks about its own interests, but is there a strategic talk of this at the community level? We think not, and we think that for the good of the community, and therefore also SWIFT, it's quite a bold attempt. It's not a half toe in the water. It's quite a bold attempt to grasp the changes that are happening both on the human side and on the technology side, and decide as a community what do we want to do with it.
Okay, let's put down specifics. So which areas, or what are your specific initiatives in the area of innovation that you've pinned down that you want to focus on?
So that has been the subject, and InnoTribe is a very open initiative. Mm-hmm. So therefore everything I'm going to say to you is very well known for those who have participated to InnoTribe events and following us. So we focus, and our antennas go to two basic topics. One is technology, understanding what's happening out there that is of interest. The second is human factors. Mm-hmm. On the technology side, we think that things like cloud computing, digital identity, something that we call big data, so business analytics for new products and services, that these topics are very, very important for the banking community as a whole. Mobile payments, I'm forgetting yes. the one we are here for in Mumbai, right. But mobile payments is a very important one. So these would be the technology topics. Right.
So there are four big technology topics.
Mobile payments, cloud computing, digital identity, and big data.
And now, what would you say to someone looking at you and seeing the focus that you're giving yourself, that these are exactly the four areas where SWIFT risks being disintermediated in?
Well, I think that for SWIFT, I work for SWIFT, therefore I work for the financial community, but I also work for SWIFT, and I think it is normal for me to be looking at as well for what SWIFT can do in these areas of opportunity for us and risk as well. And I'm of the opinion that, and there are numerous case studies of that in the industry, banking or not. There is this expression in American baseball, it's called a curveball. It's something that comes from somewhere you don't expect. And I think that with the major changes facing banks and us, we have to detect the curveball. Okay.
If you look at any one of these areas, say
yes.
Cloud computing, for example, is it necessary, or can we expect SWIFT to take a stand on cloud computing? Because think about it, in a number of jurisdictions, the regulators are very suspicious of cloud computing, and it disintermediates the institutions. It puts data in an unsecure environment. It's in a way antithesis to financial services, or the key elements of financial services. Should SWIFT step in and declare that cloud computing is kosher?
So the answer to that question is basically up to the community that owns us to tell us. I have my own opinion. So if you look at SWIFT since 37 years now, the strengths of SWIFT are what? Standards, security, reliability. If you put these two and two together, the cloud computing concept, especially application as a service, as a concept, is exactly suffering today from the lack of standards, lack of trust, security, and we see these horror stories about resilient, things falling over. So if we put two and two together, there is a natural tendency, and some people look at SWIFT and say, SWIFT is the cloud computing for the cloud for the financial institutions. Some people even look at us and say SWIFT should be the app store, if I use the iPhone analogy. SWIFT should be the app store for the financial industry, where applications from SWIFT, and especially for third parties, could be made available to the financial industry. But are we at the end of the day going to do that with SWIFT or not? That is a debate that we have in these tribe events and at a strategic level. I have my own opinion, which is yes, but I think more importantly it's the community that owns SWIFT that will decide so.
Right. But at the same time, what is the internal business deliverable that you've been mandated with, or you're supposed to be focusing on? So at the end of it, what should SWIFT's position be on cloud computing?
So how do we get to that decision? Yes. So going back to a little bit how my team operates, because I run a very small team, it's 8 people, including myself. So what we do is, it is not my team that does innovation. Right. We don't wake up every morning with ideas. Our job is to foster innovation and to be able precisely to bring, number one, to bring these strategic issues on the table for a quality discussion in the community and SWIFT. So that is the idea generation piece. Then to have a quality discussion, sometimes it's necessary to do more than just explain. Sometimes you need to develop a prototype or engage with a particular community so that you can understand better, refine your idea, perhaps try some alternatives. Right. That's what we call the incubation of the idea. That's where we actually put on the table some concrete data elements for deciders to be able to decide. And we want this to be something, not the opinions, because opinions are one thing, everybody has an opinion, but the decisions need to be taken on facts. And that's what the incubation process is about. Then after that, there is a piece that's called acceleration. So if we indeed decide to go about this, we have to go carefully, because you mentioned the key strengths of Swift today, and we cannot impact that. Our job and our mission of today is there, and it is there, and we will continue doing that. So we have to be carefully on the side of this, nurturing these ideas. That's what I call acceleration. Perhaps, you know, some co-investment scenarios can be had at the acceleration phase with our member banks or vendors. Who knows? But it has to be done in a I call it a sandbox. Right. So in an environment where it cannot impact the core service. Right. And then finally, if we go through this process and we then have a quality decision, strategic decision with a proven business model and commercial offering, then we make it part of the core.